Welcome back from our coffee break. I'm Jasmine Dubé from the Jim Pattison Broadcast Group. So, Gen Z, this is going to be exciting. I have a 15-year-old daughter. She is right in the wheelhouse, and she is fascinating in terms of how she looks at media compared to her mom. We often have some great conversations. She's the one that has the speaker going off of her phone in the bathroom as she gets ready every morning and is listening to rap music, which I love the beat too, but God help you, don't listen to the lyrics. So I met Jeff, who is going to be our next panelist, or leading the panelist up here, several years ago when I got asked to come on one of the CRTC panels. And Jeff's the numbers guy, and of course us in broadcasting are the word people, but he managed to turn all his numbers into something that was completely accessible, and he's also now turning generations into accessible information for us. So with more than 25 years of senior level media research and consulting experience, Jeff provides research expertise and strategic advice to many major media companies in Canada and the US. Jeff is a former vice president with the Angus Reid Group, a partner at Solutions Research Group, and senior VP of media research and Vision Critical. At Audience Insights Inc., Jeff works with a network of associates to provide his clients with a full spectrum of research services and heights. Please welcome Jeff Vidler.
So, Generation Z, who are they? Well, the definition is, and these things are always a bit fluid, but the generally accepted definition is that Generation Z were born in 1995 or later. 1995, that was the year that the internet really kind of hit the mainstream, when all of us were on the internet. So this generation are the true digital natives. The internet was a part of their day-to-day life from the time they were born. They've been called the most connected, educated, and sophisticated generation in history. They don't just represent the future, they were creating the future. In a lot of ways, and you'll see that today on the highlight video that we're about to show you, because they are our future as well. The leading edge of Generation Z is going to turn 23 this year. So in 2 years, they're going to be coming into the 25-54 demographic. Tuesday night, here in Kelowna, with the very generous help and support of Global Okanagan, we conducted and filmed a focus group of 8 Generation Z members who live here in Kelowna. We spent yesterday editing that down to a highlights package that you're about to see. It's an edited summary, so not everything that they talked about is here, because we didn't want to take a 2-hour focus group. We brought it down to about 45 minutes. So I'm sure there's going to be things that you're going to see on this video that you're going to say, geez, what did they mean by that? What was going on? What else did they say? So just make a note of those things, because we will have a question and answer to follow, so I can sort of follow up with you on some of those things as well. Okay? So meet Finn, Cole, Jackie, Sydney, Drew, Natalie, Max, and Nick, Generation Z.
My name is Finn Tobin, 18 years old. I'm a grade 12 student at Mount Bushery. I live at home with my parents. I have divorced parents, so I go back and forth. I guess I'm pretty big into video games. I'm not sure what you are asking for my personality. I obviously like music, so that's why I'm here. I'm big into alt rock, and I like Power 104.
All right, okay. Yeah, that's great. It's lots of detail, yeah.
All right, my name's Cole. I went to school here in town. I went to KSS. I go to OC now to study business. I play football in town with the sun here, and I work at Cactus Club downtown. I live at home with my parents.
And for fun, you do?
Honestly, that kind of takes up everything between like school, football, and and work.
I guess football's fun, right?
Yeah, oh totally. That's my pastime for sure. Yeah, that's about it.
I'm Jackie, I'm 17 and I'm in grade 12 at KSS, and pretty much all I do is go to school and I play hockey in Vernon. So I spend all my time in the car.
Going back and forth to Vernon to
Well,
play hockey?
like I live in Winfield, so then I go to Vernon, then I go to KSS in Kelowna, and then I go, yeah. That's all I do with my time.
I'm Sydney. I'm 21. Grew up here. Day I was born, and I'm in my last year of my business degree at Okanagan College. I am working at Tourism Kelowna. My degree is in tourism and hospitality, so I just got the job at Tourism Kelowna a couple months ago, so that's fantastic so far. I really love hiking, hang out with my friends and family, playing board games.
I'm Drew. I'm 19 years old. I'm going into my 3rd year at UBCO as a biochem major. I live at home with my parents. I work part-time as a lifeguard and part-time as a server. In my spare time, I like to play basketball and go hiking.
Okay, so you have spare time? Two
A little bit.
jobs.
My name's Natalie Kreiper. I go to Mount Boucherie Secondary. I'm in grade 12, and I work part-time at as a server at a retirement resort. And in my spare time, I like to play guitar and hike and swim, stuff like that.
Cool. So guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar?
Acoustic.
Acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Do you write songs or?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, cool.
My name is Max. I do product management and business development for a tech company here in town, just down the road actually. In my spare time, I like to go hiking, go swimming, go road biking, mountain biking, all that fun stuff. I play in a band. I play the drums with some of my friends. We've played some gigs in town occasionally. Right now we're in a bit of a lull because 2 of our band members took off to, well, one of them is working for Tesla in California, and then the other one went to Japan for work as well.
A little tough to get a band together.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey everyone, my name is Nick. I'm a 22-year-old recent grad from UBCO. I'm from the States, but I'm going to be staying in Canada since or after graduation in a few weeks. I run a men's accessories online store, and I'm searching for full-time employment. For my free time, actually a lot of it's job searching, but I like to listen to podcasts, and I'm a big hockey fan.
Right, right. So you like living here?
Yes.
You want to stay in Kelowna?
Yeah, or Vancouver.
Or Vancouver,
Yeah.
yeah. Think of a typical kind of weekday morning, whatever your routine is, from the time that you wake up to the time that you leave to go work, do whatever it is that you do. And I'll start with you, Cole, just randomly. Just tell me about when you wake up in the morning, what media, and remember, these, my phone is, but phones and things are part of that.
Wake up in the morning, I'd probably check like Instagram and Snapchat as soon as I wake up, even though that's kind of bad, but I'm in the habit of doing it. Get my stuff together like in the morning to wherever I'm going, wherever that would be like. Probably either work or school. On my way either to those places, I'd be listening to some music, maybe the radio or like Spotify. I'm a Spotify user, that's what I listen to like most of my music off of.
When my alarm gets off, I usually check Instagram, Snapchat, mostly look in my notifications. If there's something maybe on Facebook, I'll go on it, see what's going on. Then once I get out of bed, I get my makeup on and I watch Netflix while I'm doing it, just in the side, so I'm entertained. And then I eat breakfast and I'm watching Netflix. And then,
While you're eating breakfast?
yeah. And then when I get out the door and in my car, I start listening to music on my phone from Apple Music.
Yeah, for me, morning, I'm the same. I wake up and check my notifications and Instagram, as long as I don't leave myself 2 minutes to get out the door. But yeah, so I get out of bed, do my makeup. In the shower, I listen to music. I have a speaker in the shower.
In the shower?
Yeah. There's you can get waterproof speakers that stick to your shower. And
What kind of speaker, like, is it?
I think it's like a no-name brand.
Is it like Bluetooth? Or
Yeah,
okay.
so I just put my Bluetooth on and and then I do my makeup or whatever, my hair, whatever I'm doing in the morning, and then usually watch either Netflix or some type of YouTube video. And then when I get in my car, I listen to either music or podcast on Apple Music, and then just like the app on iPhones, I listen through that to podcasts.
I get up pretty early. I usually set my alarm for like 4:59, and I check my notifications, obviously, check social. I check Spotify to see if any of the podcasts that I follow have updated that day or that overnight. If so, I'm excited I listen to them. I may or may not have a shower depending on what I'm doing that morning. Make a really quick breakfast. I try and be out of the door by like 5:30, and I race to the gym on my bike as fast as possible, and probably listening to a podcast or music the whole way there.
I usually don't have a lot of time in the morning, so the first thing I do is not usually check my phone. It's like rush around the house and try and get out of the house in like 15 minutes, and then I get in the car and I listen to music on the way to school, and then I check everything once I get to school, because
You check everything.
like Instagram, Snapchat, and all that
Right,
stuff,
right.
because I usually don't have time when I first get out of bed in the morning.
Mhm.
Because I set like 4 alarms, then I like snooze the last one, and then now I've been in bed for 35 minutes too long, and yeah.
And your alarms are set on your phone?
Yeah, on my phone, and I set like one like 10 minutes apart, so that when I shut off the alarm, the next one still goes off.
Nick, you have morning.
Yeah, I don't like rush off to school or work or anything, so I can be, it can be like very different from morning to morning, but like an average morning I'd wake up, I don't have any social media on my phone, so nothing to check really. But I'll kind of go into the main room, make some food, and I try to get through 2 specific podcasts in the morning just to catch up on news. They run in the East Coast, so I can listen to them
So
anytime.
what podcasts do you listen to that catch you up on news?
There's one called The Daily, which is a New York Times podcast, and then one called Up First, which is NPR. I'm from the States, so like I like to keep up on U.S. news. And then, I mean, if it's a really ideal day, I can do some like meditation. I have like an application on the phone for that. Outside of that, though, like I get into work maybe 9 o'clock and throw some music on in the background.
I'm not that popular, so I don't have notifications when I get up. So I shower. I might listen to music while I'm in the shower. Walk my dog, and I'll listen to music then. I typically am running around a lot in the mornings too, making a lunch and whatnot. Then I bike to school, and I'll listen to music then.
I live 40 minutes from the university, so to get maximum amount of sleep, I give myself like 20 minutes to get out the door in the morning. So usually it's just a quick check of Snapchat, maybe Instagram, but other than that, I listen to music, get my stuff together and go on Apple Music, and then in the car, I usually listen to the radio just on my way to school. Got a lot of radio. It's 40 minutes.
Right.
So
So you listen to radio on the way to school. So is there a reason? I mean, other people talk about music. I think you're talking about other kinds of music. We'll talk about that a little bit later too. But you choose radio. Is there a reason that you choose radio
I
for that
don't
drive?
really like to stream my 3G when
Right.
I do, because I have to pay for it.
Right.
So I usually listen to the radio.
So is that the main reason? Is just because of the data usage?
And it is kind of like nice to like hear like stuff locally, like the traffic reports, like
Mhm.
if it's gonna be bad, or like the weather for the day. It is nice to hear that too.
Right, right. Okay. I'm kind of curious to know what you think life would be like if you didn't have your phone.
So much more simple.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to say, like, I could get rid of my phone, but the reality is, like, all my friends
Yeah.
probably wouldn't know how to get a hold of me. Like, I'd have
Yeah.
people knocking on my door at, like, weird hours trying to find me, and I'm just not really down for that to happen.
No. Everyone's so connected by social media, and just even like being able to open your phone, click a button, and you can talk to somebody instantly or text them. And I go camping in the summer for a week with my family, and we have no cell phone service where we go. And it's, yeah, you can fit a lot more, and you do things that you wouldn't think you'd do. Like I read, which I don't read unless I'm reading textbooks. And I read a whole book last year in a week, and that was like crazy for me. So I think it's a depends on the situation. If everybody's so connected, and now it's kind of almost required.
Group texts changed a lot before, when you could only text one person. Once there's group messages and you're not in that, you're missing a lot, like between
Right.
friends or
Group
bigger
text,
group of
yeah.
people. Yeah.
Do all of you group text?
Yeah.
Anybody, yeah? Really? Okay.
It's pretty standard.
Ridiculous.
If you're like event planning or trip planning or talking about a class or talking about
Yeah.
anything that, or like inside joke, anything like that.
Instead of going from one person to another person to
Yeah.
another person, you're all there talking about it.
Even with like events that you do, like I know, like you said with your grad page, like there's an entire grad page, and with the university, there's like UBCO like 2020 group and like 2021 group, and everyone's like getting involved with that. Like
Particularly, I'm just gonna sort of throw out each of these different social networks, and I want you just to come up with, just off the top of your head, sort of one-word descriptions or one word that comes to mind to describe that social network. Snapchat.
Pictures.
Selfies.
Frightening.
Declining.
Declining.
Yeah,
That's true.
that's true.
Why is it
Yeah.
declining?
They're doing a crappy job of keeping their customers
Instagram.
happy.
Yeah.
Instagram is
See,
Yeah,
Coming
Instagram took
for
their
them.
main function and did it better. And yeah.
yeah, they took the good parts of Snapchat, and Snapchat took their good part and made it worse.
Yeah, they did like this whole revamp of the Snapchat app that kind of grouped everything together, and it was hard to find and like confusing and weird and just not how it was before. It was all very like separate and laid out, and like
It was
your
hard
pictures.
to find what you wanted.
Yeah, your pictures from your friends are in one place, your friends' snap stories are in one place, your groups are in another place, but now it's kind of all mashed to on one page.
usually use Snapchat to like communicate with people. I don't text like as often. If I'm getting in touch with someone whose Snapchat that I have, I usually Snapchat them over
Right.
texting them.
Right.
Yeah. It's less personal to like direct message someone on Instagram than actually Snapchat.
Instagram.
Memes.
Popular.
Memes popular.
Pictures.
Memes.
Memes.
Community.
Community. How so?
The only use that or one of the biggest uses I find for Instagram that I have is connecting with a community of people who are doing the same stuff that I am. Yeah, so like I just post pictures that I like actual photographs that I take, and I can connect with like other photographers.
Facebook.
Hold.
Family.
Don't even use it.
Sad
Schools.
videos.
Sad videos.
Yeah. Every time I go on Facebook, there's like an abandoned pit bull video.
Or like protests. There's so many like protests and like everyone that wants to have some kind of activism is on Facebook.
Yeah.
I feel like you see a lot more news on Facebook than any other platform that I'd use every day.
Twitter.
News.
Short.
Fast.
Yeah.
News.
It's
Fast.
Yeah, fast.
opinions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of celebrities.
So
I don't
Yeah.
really find
Yeah.
Twitter
I don't-
useful for friends.
I don't really use it
Yeah.
that much either.
No.
I just follow I think I follow like 4 people and I just like see what they have to say about. And usually they're pretty like, I don't know, like sassy people. So if I
Yeah.
want someone's
These-
like really passionate opinion, then you go to Twitter.
these are people you know personally, or these are
No,
people you follow?
no, like I think I follow like Donald Trump and like
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
people like that I kind of read Twitter and I'm like,
Yeah. Twitter is like people's opinions on events that are happening.
Yeah.
yeah.
How about YouTube?
Music.
Music.
How-to videos.
Yeah.
How-to videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just like mindless entertainment.
Mindless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Videos.
Like
endless.
1,000 layers of nail polish.
Yeah.
So is YouTube a social network?
Not really.
Probably
In a way.
technically
It
it
could be,
probably
yeah.
is. That people can comment and have their own channel and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, if you're into film, then it could be.
You
But
can broadcast videos that you make yourself. That's probably the easiest way to upload a
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
Have any of you have a YouTube channel or had a YouTube channel?
I
Yeah.
used to have one.
You
Yeah.
used to have.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
That's okay.
Nick, you want to talk about your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I had one in high school where me and a few buddies would like post like hockey like trick shots, we called them, but I like refound it like a few months ago, and one of the videos had like 1,400 views, which is crazy, but it was a terrible video. Like the trick shots were like, yeah, they were terrible. It was funny.
So video, I mean, where does video fit into your life? How do you, like, you know, I mean, it's kind of different now than it used to be.
Yeah, probably for just wasting time, honestly, if I have nothing to do. Like, even with like Netflix, the only time I watch Netflix is to waste time, like if I have nothing to do and want to just relax.
Yeah.
Or have stuff to do that I don't feel like doing.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's that.
It's good for procrastination.
Good
Yeah.
for procrastination.
Sometimes when I'm at school, I'll have like half screen, like whatever I'm working on, and the other half screen is Netflix. So
What about on your phone? How many of you watch like TV shows and Netflix on your phone?
Yeah,
It's like the primary way.
that's like the main
Really?
way that I watch it.
Yeah.
I can't do it on my phone at all.
You can't.
No, it's way too small, like laptop or nothing.
I think for me, the main reason I just use my phone for a lot of stuff, I mean, I do use my computer, like, if I'm wanting to watch, like, a movie that I want to watch a big screen, but a lot of the time, because I have an iPhone 7 Plus, and it's got a huge screen, and it's also in 4K, and my computer, my TV, nothing else is in 4K.
My hockey team traveled everywhere, like by bus to like Prince George or like the island and everything. So I would download, because some of the shows you can watch, like you download them so you can watch them offline, and then I'd sit and look at my phone on the bus and everything. But that's the only time I've ever watched videos on my phone.
How many of you have cable in your home where you live?
Only because I don't pay for it.
Well, yeah, no, but you still end up watching, you're not really watching the shows that are on TV.
Well,
No.
I'll watch HBO.
Yeah.
I find HBO's
HBO.
good.
I watch shows on TV too, but only after I've watched my shows like on Netflix.
I'll only ever watch cable if it's like sports.
So what are some of those sources that you use for music now?
Spotify.
Spotify,
Apple Music.
Yeah, Apple Music.
Apple Music,
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud.
Yeah.
How do you use SoundCloud for audio? What kind of things do you listen to
Well,
on
it's
SoundCloud?
Basically got like all, it's more like not mainstream music. It's kind of like EDM
It's
and
independent artists.
yeah, that
Anyone can
aren't
post.
necessarily like, I don't think you find it really anything on SoundCloud that's on Apple Music, and like it can be remixes of songs, that kind of stuff.
Mhm. Spotify, Apple Music, what other,
Google Play. I
Google
use-
Play, you listen to Finn?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, I'm on a Google device, so Apple Music doesn't really work for me anymore.
Right.
But Google Play I can find all like the new stuff that's coming out. Like I can't find it on the radio stations here.
How many of you have one of these pay services then that you use?
Everybody
Seven
except
of eight.
for
Finn, you're the only guy. Yeah, but it's interesting. So, why paid? Why do you want to have the paid?
No
Service.
ads.
Nothing worse than like being in the gym and then you hear an ad and your like whole workout is just devastated after that.
And too, like with it, what I use Apple Music, they make it so that you pretty much can get anything
Yeah.
you want
Mhm.
easily, and you're paying like for a student $5 a month. To me, like I don't even notice that coming out of my bank account. So
Right.
like before Apple Music, I know my family used to buy like songs like by the song, and it would be like 99 cents or like $1.99 per song, and like you can basically get unlimited songs for $5, so that's a lot better.
So what? Okay, so there's no ads. You can get almost any
Yeah.
song
Oh.
you want.
And you can go offline. Like on
Yeah,
that's
Spotify, like
huge.
the free version, you can't listen offline, so you're constantly using data
mm-hmm.
if you're not on Wi-Fi.
Apple Music, you can do the same, and you can just
Yeah.
download it so that it's like in your phone's memory.
And one of the downsides of free Google Music is that if you search a specific song that you want to listen to, you can listen to that song's radio.
Yeah.
Meaning you can listen to every song that's related to that song or sounds like it,
Yeah.
and maybe it'll show up in the playlist.
So having these music streaming services, does that change the amount of music you listen to? Do you listen to more music now than you did
Yeah.
before?
Definitely.
Have probably listened to the same amount of music, but I listen to way more variety of artists and genres and everything like that, because you are exposed to so much more because you have less commitment to
Yeah.
downloading it before you listen to it.
I think one thing too is like before streaming services were popular, you were limited to the music that you either torrented or you purchased, whereas streaming services allow you to utilize the services algorithms to listen to new music, so you can listen constantly to songs that are just appearing new based on the services.
Where do you discover most of your new music that you listen to? Everybody might be different, so.
On Google Play.
Google Play.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How does it?
They have like a lot of playlists or radios, and then I just living in Kelowna. It's pretty small. We don't get like the big city stations will get all the new songs when they come out, but here they come out like 6 months before I hear them on the radio. So Google Play, I'll be able to actually keep up with the times. You know?
Yeah.
Apple Music too has like a what's new playlist and like what's hot playlist too that you can just click on and it's all like the new popular songs.
Is YouTube part of this thing too?
Like more for like individual songs. I know there's some songs that like you sometimes can't find on Spotify, but if I know they're on YouTube and like I really want to listen to that song, then I might go find it.
Yeah, it's like the
there.
last resort.
Yeah,
if
pretty much.
you can't find it on a streaming service, you check YouTube and it's probably there.
I was wondering if it's sort of a different experience when you're listening to music or audio when you got your headphones on than when you're listening to speakers.
I don't like that. Well, I like headphones so much because you can hear it at the same volume no matter where you walk to. Like if you're walking around your room,
Right?
you might not hear the speaker as well if you're in one corner versus like right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
I also just like being able to like have all the different instruments just like pounded into my ears.
How many of you listen to podcasts?
Here or there.
Here and there, so, yeah, so a few of you do. So, my podcasts versus listening to radio or listening to music.
Like for me, there's a few reasons. One is that, I mean, they can be informative, like news podcasts I was mentioning earlier. Also good for, and then so that would be one bucket. Probably the other would be like storytelling or not necessarily like stories comparable to a book, but just like maybe like high quality radio stories that you can do without having to constrain yourself to reading a book, because you can do it washing the dishes or going on a walk. So it's kind of, you can do it in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Audiobooks, I definitely agree, are super useful for that reason. But I find like podcasts I only ever listen with people, because I like to have like discussions or like to laugh at how ridiculous this person is.
I listen to, like business news, like weekly, just listening up to like venture capital news and like who's going public and who's raising money, stuff like that.
Do you listen to any podcasts from radio stations that radio stations do, or do you know of any?
The only one that I can think of is NPR. Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, like there's NPR and then there's like WNYC and then also one from Chicago too. So like big centers in the U.S. and then NPR is all U.S. wide.
But that's U.S. public radio stuff, right?
Yeah, or like the New York Times version of a podcast or like Washington Post, same thing.
Right. But what about like the radio stations in Kelowna or
I don't know if they would have
or
podcasts.
Vancouver?
They do, yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
A lot of them do, but it's like, I think it's, I don't know, you hear it on the radio, you hear them talking, and you don't really feel the need to listen to it again, I guess.
Is it a different kind of experience listening to podcasts and listening to the radio?
Yeah.
Feels more personal for me. Like listening to the people that I listen to, it's like I'm almost like you can feel like you're there.
Right.
As in radio, for me, it's just like I'm listening to a couple people talk on the radio and listen to music. So.
I think podcasts are higher production value, and I think that the content that they talk about is more quality, whereas anything that's talked about on the radio is probably just local and topical, and it's probably not going to matter tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being able to choose what you want to listen to, and you can choose kind of what you want them to talk about is a big difference than them having full control, kind of.
Is that part of what you're saying with
Yeah,
personal?
being able to choose what you want to listen to.
Any of you have Google Home?
I have Amazon Echo.
Amazon Echo, same idea, I
Yeah,
guess.
pretty
I mean, is this a big deal, having these?
It's going to become more of a big deal.
But is it now, I guess, is the question.
I feel like we're semi-early adopters.
Yeah.
Semi-early
Yeah.
adopters.
My dad got it.
I agree, because
Dad got it?
personally, I don't feel like I need one.
I have one, and it's not like before. It wasn't like, oh gee, I wish this was just like half a second closer to me. But now that I have it, it's like, oh cool. Like the other day, I was in the kitchen and I was like, can you freeze like whatever I was trying to make? And then I was like, hey Google, can you freeze this? And then like spouted off a bunch of stuff about all this, like about what I was trying to do. And then I was like, did I need it? No, but was it cool? Yeah. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty, like, useful. I wouldn't say it's impacted my life, but it's sure been useful in that you can just utilize it in the background without having to engage in, like, pulling something up or pausing or playing or fast forwarding. Yeah, I use it for playing podcasts and music. I set timers when I'm cooking. Those are the biggest things. And then, like, some searches, too. I'll be like, hey, what's the capital of whatever place? But that's mostly it.
Yeah. Are you listening to more audio because you've got?
Probably
because
not.
You have that speaker now?
Probably not listening to more, because if I didn't, I would just use my computer and more or less the same quantity of audio.
Yeah.
But I find it easier to use.
Right.
I find that if I have like a 10 or 15 minute gap where I'm like in a rush and my phone and my headphones are charging and stuff like that, and I wouldn't normally be listening to music or audio, if I'm running around the house, I can say, hey Google, put on a band or something, or put on an artist, and it's like very little effort, and I'll fill that 15-minute gap where I wouldn't have listened to music with music. So so I am listening to more audio because of it.
Yeah.
I use it all the time when I'm like home alone, and then I just fill like the silence with music, which I normally wouldn't do.
Do you ever use Google Home to listen to radio stations, like AM, FM radio stations?
I didn't even know that was
I
possible.
just do that.
Yeah, I know some people can do that, but like I've never done it
You've never done it?
just because I prefer my own music. But like, I've seen it done. My dad will do it.
Your dad can do it?
Yeah.
What are some words, just throw out some words when you think about AM, FM radio, what are some words that come to mind?
Ads.
Commercials.
Old.
Yeah.
Annoying, repetitive.
Mainstream music?
Mainstream?
Yeah.
That being said, I listen to it all the time, but like, I only ever listen to the radio in the car. I didn't even know that Google Home did radio, but I only listen to the radio in the car if like my phone's gonna die, or if I'm like already driving and I don't want to try and like drive, but also like make music do it. I don't know, but the radio is all like. I listen to it, but when I listen to it, most of the time I like skip through like station to station, because as soon as I hear an ad, I'm just like,
Yeah.
or like they're like, it comes on and there's like a song, and then it's like, now you're listening to like 45 minutes ad free on blah 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 blah, and I'm like, but I'm listening to an ad right now, and I can't handle it. So then yeah.
So even when they stop to say, you're listening to 45 minutes, commercial free, you're gone before
Yeah,
they even
yeah,
finish
no,
saying
as
that?
soon as like the song cuts out and I hear like a person's voice, then that's enough for me.
Sometimes when I'm listening to the radio too, like an ad comes on and I switch and it's another ad, and then same thing, and it's like they all play their ads at the exact same time or something, because like whenever one ad comes on, I can't find a station that doesn't have ads on.
Yeah.
But the radio, I like listening to like traffic sometimes, like hearing if I'm driving from like my house in West Kelowna to school, like if is traffic bad, is the bridge bad at 9 a.m. in the morning, like it always is. And also I like the announcers, they do like sometimes they do those like competitions or contests in the morning where they do like name 5 things that rhyme with this or whatever. I like listening to those things, but I don't like it for music because there's ads, and I can't choose what I'm listening to.
I don't find the music on the radio like Power 104. I don't usually like find a lot of rock songs on like Apple Music or whatever, and like they're more like I guess available, and I don't know, it's like different kinds of music too that I wouldn't like usually listen to, like go out of my way to listen to.
Right.
Like older songs I wouldn't like usually search up, but like they play and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
The variety is kind of nice in that sense. Like K96.3 plays like classic rock, and like I listened to a bunch of that growing up. Like my dad played it all the time, so it's kind of like I normally wouldn't listen to that like on Spotify or like pretty much anywhere else. So it's kind of nice to like switch to that. Sometimes you get like a little bit different.
There's like some radio stations like in New York and other like big American cities that actually play like very new, like very good music. Like potentially like rap music if it's like a rap station, but we don't have like a dedicated rap station pretty much in any Canadian city, maybe Toronto or something. But they not only do they play like good music that's actually like relevant, they also have like really groundbreaking like interviews and stuff like that with celebrities and artists. And so like I watch those interviews on YouTube.
I also feel like that's why satellite radio is getting a lot popular, is because there are ads now more than there were previously, but there's a lot less ads. Like my mom keeps our satellite radio going on all day on like this like coffee house station.
Both my parents have satellite radio in their car too, and I know my mom really, really likes it.
I feel like it's a big in-between for people. Like maybe our grandparents would still listen to the radio, but our parents would listen to satellite radio and we'd listen to streaming.
Do you ever stream AM, FM radio?
No.
No?
I might have a few years ago. Like I remember downloading an app for radio a few years ago, but now it's, no, I wouldn't even think about doing that.
Do you still have the app on your phone?
No.
Have you ever heard of Radio Player?
Canada.
It's an app,
Yeah.
Radio Player Canada.
I hear ads for it all the time.
Yeah, I hear
Yeah.
ads. I've heard of ads too.
But anybody downloaded it?
I tried it. I couldn't find the station that was playing the ad.
You couldn't find the station that was playing the ad?
So, oh, okay. I deleted it.
iHeartRadio, have you heard of iHeartRadio?
Yeah,
I've
My
heard
parents
of
use that.
I've heard ads for that too.
And what is iHeartRadio?
It's like the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think isn't it just like a big compilation of all the radio stations?
Is it?
I don't know.
I think it's also.
I know they have like big concerts and all the artists, like a bunch of artists play there. That's all I know it for.
Yeah.
What role, I mean, just given all of the different things you listen to, all the different things you watch, what kind of role radio, AM, FM radio can play for you in your life? What are the things where it would fit? What is there that makes it relevant to you and to your life? What are the things you hear that make it relevant?
I've listened to AM radio for the news before. Not that much.
Not that much.
I find that that's probably how I get the majority of my news updates is from the radio.
Morning. What are some other sources you have for news, or do you really
Castanet.
Facebook,
Google
Castanet,
News.
Yeah.
Castanet?
Yeah, I follow like a BBC. I have like a BBC app on my phone, so when something really like breaking or big happens in the world, it alerts me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Even Instagram can have it. Like a lot of pages post like if something big happens, like their opinions to it.
Cole, what about you?
Yeah, Castanet. I check the weather app too for that.
they
But
have forums.
Kelowna now is kind of the same thing, and I think they do a better job, personally. They're newer.
That's another one, same idea?
Yeah.
Really?
And I feel like they fact check more.
Probably my number one visited site on my phone is Castanet because I look at it all the time. But there's many flaws that I have seen with it.
What are the personalities or the announcers on radio? Are there certain announcers or types of announcers that really stand out to you as being
Yeah. Well, like
worth listening to?
Power 104 has the Bobs every morning, and it's like they're just really, I don't know, funny to listen to while you drive, and they're just, or there's
What makes them funny?
They're just like banter at each other, and I don't know. I imagine them as like two old guys in like a radio booth, but it's like they're just like really. Sometimes they're just like really out of touch, and then other times they're just like they'll say something wrong that I would normally say, and it's just I don't know. It's funny to listen to the generational difference, I guess.
David and Tony on K96.3 are kind of good too. Again, that's just with like they banter like pretty well together. It's kind of funny.
What by banter do you mean? What would
They
you mean by
like go back and forth like making fun of each other sometimes. So it's just entertaining to listen to like somebody get roasted on the radio.
Okay.
That's funny.
they do like different types of like quizzes that you can kind of follow along with.
Do radio stations ever do things with, do they ever sort of interact with listeners on social media? Do you see radio stations on social?
They do a
That's-
lot.
They do
Like
so much.
most radio stations, like they'll start talking about like something that's like popular or whatever, and then they'll say like drop like your opinions and everything on Facebook, and then they'll use it to like make a big broad discussion, even though they're on a radio and you're on your phone.
Yeah.
Do you ever, Dave, you ever engaged in that? or-
No, but I do listen to what everyone else has to say.
Yeah.
They do that with like Twitter too. You can say, they can hashtag like 99.9 Sun FM, and they say use this hashtag or whatever, and then we can hear, like we can see whatever you're saying.
We've done some like school events, like charity events in town, where we'll try to bring people from local stations out to those events, and then have them like say like, oh, drive-through breakfast is happening in the Rona parking lot, and I imagine they would do the same thing on their social media, but I don't know if they I don't know what the following would be like on that.
Right.
But that helps.
But they do that kind of community stuff.
Yeah. If we're trying to get people to a certain location, I find it helps a little bit
Right.
with some
It's
like
like free
the
promotion.
yeah, especially with like non-student crowd, because they'll bring like older people out.
I mean, are there any good commercials that are actually entertaining to listen to?
Michael J. maybe.
Yeah, he keeps
Pretty
me interested,
entertaining.
that's for sure.
What, tell me, what is that?
He is the spokesperson, I guess, for Big White, like the mountain.
Oh, okay.
And he like comes on in this really excited voice. He's like, "Hey, it's Michael J from Big White Ski Resort."
What about texting? You know, if you could text them and then you knew that they were gonna text back to you and they were, you know, having a conversation or something.
Yeah.
But if you like were participating in the radio for like a contest or whatever, I think that would be
Yeah.
okay.
I agree, because right now you have to, like, if you want to do a contest, you have to phone in, and I mean, a lot of them you do have to talk over the phone, but if they could make some way to make it easier for us.
It could be really good for like those big they talk about like hot topics or whatever, and then you can like send them your like opinion and
Yeah.
2 cents
Yeah.
and everything. Like I don't have super passionate opinions, but I know people that do, and they would totally like text
Yeah.
that person at the radio station and be like, "Oh."
So you would text maybe rather than do
Well,
that?
like, I don't use Facebook like at all, so
Yeah.
I like if I had something interesting to say, I don't think I'd post it on like a public Facebook page. But if I could like
Message them privately.
anonymously send them like this is what I have to say.
Do you get a sense of that your generation is different from, like, do you say, okay, millennials are kind of like this, but we're like this? Is there a sense of what makes you different from previous generations?
I get really annoyed being called a millennial.
Huh?
I get really annoyed
Being called a millennial?
Because there's like so much negative connotation with it. It's just like we just pay a lot of attention to social media and like very, very like the short attention spans, whatnot.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like I see many people working that hard in class or like at anything, like at work. Nobody works that hard. You don't see like a lot of people like really enthused about their job at my age.
I think it's harder to be our age, because I know that like to get a decent job nowadays you usually like need a bachelor's degree, and like my parents bought their first house for like $100,000.
So what does that do to the way that you kind of look at life then? How does that change the way that your generation looks at life?
Well, I think that like businesses in the market have responded to like the trends that we're all talking about, like the sharing economy didn't exist also when our parents were like buying houses, right? But now we can, I mean, like rentals are a lot more popular than purchasing houses in our generation, and like marriages are being pushed back later as well as childbirth. So like the trends have adapted.
A lot of people would rather spend their money traveling with their significant other than having children.
But I think for at least me personally, and a lot of my friends, we want to do the whole travel thing, and then like make sure you get your experience in, and then if you want to have kids after that, like in your like maybe late 20s, early 30s, then fine.
Interesting.
I also think like millennials, like the generation above us, like spends a lot less time on social media. Definitely they have it, but a lot less. And I find the same with like Europeans. Like I don't know if it's because they get it later. It's just not like as trendy, but they use it,
Yeah.
but it's not as much as we do.
YouTube has always been around for me, like since I was able to remember things. Like it came out in 2005, and I was 5 at the time. So it was like, by the time I was 7, I had a YouTube channel. I was like making like stop motion animation videos, but like just like born with this stuff.
What it is that AM/FM radio could do for you individually to be relevant in your life, the things you hear in AM/FM radio that would you go, you know what, I would make a point of listening to that maybe on my smart speaker or on my phone if they did this kind of thing.
Like interesting segments that change change the style of the radio. Like you have 96.3, which is the only one I would ever listen to, is like classic rock, but maybe there'd be a segment on like just like the Beatles every Wednesday morning or something, for example.
If they were able to have radio shows where they interview local bands that people care about or play lots more local music, that would be a bigger deal. Like some local bands that I listen to from Kelowna and Vancouver and stuff, they might have airtime once a month, like one song gets played once a month or something like that, and it's a very big deal that they're on the radio once, but then they're not on the radio again.
Right.
But if there was an entirely local station of local bands, I would listen to that.
Okay. Natalie?
I find on like Instagram and Snapchat that people tend to boast about their favorite artists, their favorite songs. If they had someone that was monitoring these posts that people are making and then playing these songs,
Right.
that would be a good idea.
Like my biggest issue with the radio is the quality is worse than like if I would play it from my phone, which like if they did just like up the quality, I think it would be much more enjoyable to listen to.
The sound quality, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I was actually just thinking that like when I drive by Mount Boucherie, my radio kind of like starts to try and cut out, and I can't stand that. I would definitely listen to more specific, like either playlist kind of like a rap or like a different, like more like indie music, because our radio stations I find here are very mainstream.
Jackie?
I think they need to like broaden everything a little bit. Like there's like 99.9, which is like the hit radio station, but I think that they need to not just focus on like, they still play all their hits, but if I hear the same song twice and 3 times in a day, then I'm not gonna want to hear it ever again.
Paul, I'm going to go quickly here.
Less repetition, more diversity. Like, nobody wants to listen to Passion Fruit 4 times on their way to school or work or whatever. There's so many other like smaller artists that are like that make good music that you could listen to instead.
Yeah. I would say like 2 things, like definitely segmentation, like everybody's been saying, like a night for like new music, night for local bands would be awesome. A night for interviews would also be great. But also like the quality of the ads, like I don't mind the Google Play ads because some of them are like charities or they're actually interesting like podcasts or other like local incentive, well not local incentives, but they're incentives. Whereas here there's always a restaurant or it's Big White or it's like, it's just the same ad over and over.
So there you go. That's Generation Z in Kelowna. 8 people who we had at CHBC on Tuesday night recorded the group. I'm sure you probably have some questions, some things that you heard you'd like to maybe chase down a little further. So we thought it might be helpful to have those people from the group come and join us for a question and answer so that you can ask those questions to them. Continue the conversation, but with you involved as well. So on that note, I think we have So we have 7 of the 8. Unfortunately, Max was unable to join us this morning, and he passes on his regrets. But we do have the other 7 that you can go ahead and ask some questions to. We have a couple of microphones, I think. We have one microphone there, one microphone here. It can be passed around maybe as well if anybody would have any questions. Anyone want to get the ball rolling?
Thank you very much for your participation. I thought it was quite eye-opening, some of your comments. I'm curious, I heard a lot about how you access music and how you're using different streams or different sources for music, Spotify, et cetera. Where are you getting news? And I know there was something that talked about maybe BBC apps and those sorts of things. But how do you, like when you see smoke in the sky, what do you do? How do you find out what that is?
Well, personally, the first place I go if I see smoke in the sky would be Castanet. That's the first place I go. If it's like in Kelowna, that kind of place, definitely would be Castanet. Or if it's something bigger, like just for daily news, I watch YouTube.
Even like a quick Google search sometimes, like what's going on, well, usually like first couple things are usually.
So you just basically Google whatever, smoke Kelowna, and you're going to get something.
Yeah, and like the
And does it
date
matter
or-
where it comes from for you? Like, does it matter if it's from Global or if it's from Castanet or any of that? Or do you even notice that?
Not really, as long as it's like accurate and of what's going on.
I'm I care a little bit. Mostly I will look at Global. I don't trust Castanet as much, or Kelowna Now. But typically I agree with G, just search it up. I'm not typically circling through a news feed every day.
Yep.
Do you think you'll care about news when you get older? Care more about news when you get older?
Yeah,
You are getting older, right? Oh, and by the way, we're the old people.
I feel like as children, news wasn't that something that we wanted to know, but even now the interest has increased. So I can definitely see being more interested as I age.
So, and Natalie, where do you think you would go for that news as you get older? Where's the first, as you're getting more interested in that, where do you think you would go for that news?
Honestly, following on maybe Facebook, Instagram, news pages. You can see it on the TV, but they post the same thing to their Facebook. So just by following them, you can see the same thing that you see on the news.
I was going to say one thing. I might be on the older spectrum of the panel here, and I do care quite a bit about news, but I'm from the States, so it's a very engaging time for politics, especially if you are part of a younger demographic where I'm from. And so where I go to news, kind of also to add on to that, it's very easy for me to bookend my day with podcasts, a few podcasts in the morning, which I listen to specifically, and then emails that come in daily from some publishers that I subscribe to, and I just get a daily recap of the day or a daily things to look forward to in the following day. So,
What do you like in a news podcast? What are you looking for?
I am looking for, I think probably top of mind would be efficiency. I want to hear the top stories, which is one of the podcasts I listen to, so it's very quick, 15 minutes. And then the other one is just interesting stories, so things that are maybe popular in headlines, but covered in a different way or analyzed in a different light.
For those of you that use podcasts, how do you discover new podcasts?
I love podcasts, and either they have some suggested podcasts from analyzing what I normally listen to, and then suggesting new stuff. But for me, it's either friend referrals, what people have told me they like listening to, or if I see something on the internet that is recommended to me from what I'm searching, then that's generally how.
So when they say that they recommend things based on what you listen to, what's they? Is that?
Well, I use the podcast app on just on my iPhone, and they have a for you or recommended tab that you can look at based on.
So it's Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Then?
Yeah.
You mentioned, I think one of you mentioned in that video that your generation goes on social media a lot. There's a lot of stuff on social media that's also not true. Do you guys make an effort to see the validation, to see how true that information is, or whatever information is there, you just absorb it and that's the truth for you guys?
Definitely. There's so many different forms of fake news now. People just make fake news because they can and they want to. And you see something and you think, this might not be real. You're obviously going to check the source. Is this a reliable source? Or maybe even search it up and see if you see it on another reliable source.
Yeah, fact checking for sure. I have, especially in the last 2 years, become more conscious of watching and checking what I'm learning. If something seems like outlandish or strange, or even just I'm not sure if it would be true or not, I definitely try and check it, because
What do you use to check it? What reliable sources do you go to check whether that's true or not?
generally I would go to Google and see whether there's, because a lot of the times there will be news on if this is actually fake news, like they'll have some type of source saying that this was not true, this is actually what happened, and obviously looking for reputable sources. So.
Julie.
Hi, I have a couple questions. It was clear through that your perception is that a lot of the people listening to radio and a lot of people that work in radio are older. I'm curious if there were younger people on the air or younger people working in radio, would that make you listen more? And then my second question is, in 5 to 10 years, do you think radio is still going to be around?
I think to answer your first question, probably not. Honestly, I like choosing my own music. The second part, yeah, I think it will be around, but I think the popularity is declining, and that's pretty obvious for all of you guys to notice the trends that it is declining.
I think it'll still be around for sure, because there's always going to be like a need for it, and there's always like, if you're in the car, you can't watch the news. So there's always going to be like updates and things like that, and not everyone can stream music, and there's always going to be some need for it.
I think that satellite radio may increase and radio locally will decrease, because there's a lot of sections driving, you don't get it, and satellite radio you have so many options of what you can listen to.
I had just one point as well, like with younger people, maybe choosing the music or on like directing the station. That could appeal to me. Like maybe they have an interest in more underground or independent music, which would be appealing. And then on the second part of your question, I think it'll still be around. I just would be curious how major stations in metro areas would have influence over smaller towns. Like Kelowna maybe has more influence from Vancouver in 5 years from time from now. I don't know what that would look like.
I have 2 questions as well. First of all, thank you so much for being here and sharing this. Given the points of where you are in your lives right now, it's very much about your behaviors, what you're doing, your life. But as you get a little bit older, regardless of when you start having your families, do you think that your behaviors will change as you have to become more focused on more than just yourself and your own personal habits? Do you think radio then will start to play a bigger role in your life? And then my second question after that, completely unrelated, when you choose to watch or access YouTube for music, do you either view it or do you minimize and listen to it? Like, how do you use it? 2 different questions.
For the second part of your question, I usually listen and minimize, because when I do listen to YouTube playlists, I'm usually like studying while I do it, so I don't watch the videos as much. It's just really time consuming.
Any of those that get buffered with ads, do you?
The skip ad button is nice.
Or even it's a few seconds. For me, I don't usually minimize. I spend the time to watch the full video. That's just me, because I have trouble like doing 2 things at once.
First part, yes. Second part, I definitely minimize it. Unless it's like a music video, then maybe you might want to watch it.
You said yes, Cole, to the first question, that you think as you get older you will probably listen to more radio?
Yeah,
why do you think that would be?
I think in general, older people tend to listen to more radio. Like how many of you guys actually use Spotify or Apple Music more than you use radio? Probably. Yeah, not a whole lot. I think I'll follow with that trend too.
I think that personally, for me, I don't know if I'll listen to more radio than I do right now. I think that because I've grown up being able to use this Apple Music, Spotify, I use Apple Music, but I think because I know how to use it and I have been using it, it's pretty much what I know. I mean, I listened to radio with my parents when I was young, but now it's all I use, and if I have the ability to use it, I think I will.
Yeah, I think. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I think when it comes to fact checking, in the traditional media, we often we always do that. We are checking the facts first, then sharing. When it comes to social media, how do you guys do it? Like, you are in a rush to share the information, or you first try to verify it? What do you choose?
I think that it's that if you share wrongful information, you're scared of people saying this is wrong. And I definitely, for me, I think before I share. And I don't share a lot. I share when I totally agree with something and I want to let other people know. And I don't just see something and share it. I definitely would want to know if the source is reliable before I'm giving out that kind of information, but for others it could be different.
Yeah, and I know from personal experience on my Facebook feed, I have plenty of friends that share wrong information and just don't care. So, but personally, yeah, I'm the same. I don't share much, but when I do, it's something I know is right and it's something I care about. So,
yeah. Have you ever been influenced or made a purchasing decision based on an ad that's been served to you on your social media channels?
Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question, can I?
Ken?
Following up on that a little bit, in the news lately, there's been a great deal about the leak or the information your data from Facebook going to other sources. Are you in any way concerned about that with your other social media, Instagram and other things? Are you pulling back in any way what information you're sharing with your apps?
I deleted my Instagram because of that, just because it's also owned by Facebook. I kept Facebook around because I'm graduating right now, and there's a lot of usefulness to communicate with my grad class with that, but it definitely is pretty scary to know that there's so much data about me online. And I haven't, I've willingly said yes to the terms and conditions, but I should have read them. You know?
Yeah. They're so long, no one reads them.
But
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I went, after that whole thing kind of came to light, I went, and there's a way you can actually see what Facebook sees, and I went and did that. And I mean, I knew as I've gotten older that, everything you do online, it's there forever. So I already know that, I've linked my phone with my Facebook and they can probably see stuff. But when I went and looked, it actually was quite, it was interesting and concerning because they have all my contacts that I've had through my whole, contacts I don't even have in my phone now, like messages from 8 years ago that are still archived in there. And yeah, it's definitely concerning.
I think a big thing that you have to do is constantly be updating your privacy settings because they change them and they don't tell you, and then you look back on your privacy settings and it's completely open. So I think regularly you have to go back and change them.
How many of you have changed your privacy settings on social media in the last? How many of you have changed your privacy settings? This is a unanimous, this is about 50-50, so.
Who would your ideal local personality be? And if that person was only available on AM or FM, would you follow them on that format?
One thing I can say, I was alluding to it earlier, someone that more aligns with independent music, so off the mainstream type of sound would be nice and I could relate to. But I mean, I see the flip side. Kelowna is one of the oldest metro areas in Canada, so when I turn on the radio, I'm not hearing from people who are in my age demographic, so it doesn't really surprise me, which is why I would turn to other sources, as has been a theme we've all spoken to.
Yeah.
Do you even follow, like even have do you know who the local personalities are?
I know like BMAC and Carly because I listen to it
Yeah.
sometimes, but that's about it. And Kevin and Sonia
And
when they were
is
here.
Is
Yeah.
personalities important to you, or is it just the stuff? Like the content?
I think
it's like 50-50.
Both.
Yeah, I think it makes it more easy to listen to when it's a good personality.
You know
and
you
funny
like the
and-
person.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't really listen to the radio much, so I
No.
don't ever get the.
One thing too on personality, like a few times I've driven and turned on the radio, like, and maybe I don't necessarily recognize the positive traits of a personality, but I for sure would remember negative traits where I'd be like, whoa, I heard that comment was pretty inappropriate. I'm not gonna go listen to that segment anymore. Or like, I'm just gonna switch the channel. I'll probably never come back to this station ever again just because there's so many options, but like, for sure negative comments would stay in the brain.
John?
Who's your favorite musical artist?
That's a loaded question.
How many you have?
My favorite.
I like Khalid a lot.
DJ.
No, not DJ Khaled. No. Khalid.
Yeah.
What sort of music does Khalid play?
It's
like
kind of alternative.
soul rap kind of.
It is more rap.
Slower.
Rap.
Yeah.
He's pretty popular.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
And The Weeknd too is a lot, has similar music.
I really like Logic and the Chainsmokers.
Yeah.
I'd say probably Drake or J. Cole.
I like Kyle too.
Yeah, Kyle's good.
Yeah.
Who?
Jeff Beck.
Yeah. I don't know. I think my dad maybe would play some of his music. Yeah.
Or maybe your grandpa?
Maybe.
Anita?
One question, I just want to switch it to video for just a second. So a couple of you said that when you were doing homework or studying, you have Netflix on. So are you actually watching it, or is it just background? And if it is, why video over audio if it's just background? And my second part of it is then, if you're watching Netflix versus linear television, is it content that drives you there? Is it just the fact there's no ads because we know you hate being served ads? Or what is the choice?
I find it's easier to just go to Netflix because it's like an internet thing. You can search it up versus going to a TV. Like you have to have a TV in front of you. Like when I am studying, I'm doing it in the library. I have my computer, but I don't have access to a TV. And it is kind of half and half. Like I'm not 100% paying attention to the video usually, and the noise is kind of background, but at the same time I do like half watch.
Yeah, I think for me when I'm studying, I do half watch it too, if I'm doing something else and watching a TV show. But a lot of the time, I'm not watching something that's really like intellectually stimulating. It's just something like The Office or.
I find intellectually stimulating on linear TV. I'm just saying.
Yes, but yeah. So.
Rob?
As you look to the future, would any of you consider a career in radio or television? Is that on your radar at all?
I'm a sciences student, so that's not really like in my field, so I'd probably say no.
I've thought about it and I've discussed it with my family. Like, I'm kind of into journalism, thinking maybe TV, but I talked to my mom about it. She's like, that whole business is declining. You're not going to get a job. I was like, are you sure? But my cousin has tried to get into this kind of business, and he found it really difficult. So I think that's where she got her idea from.
Yeah, and my boyfriend, who's 23, his mom went to school for journalism, same thing, and she has now just finished 4 years of social work because she couldn't get a job in it.
Yeah.
And he was thinking out of high school doing journalism, and it just completely turned him off of it.
Your generation seems very ad-adverse. How is the best way to communicate? If I'm a local business and I want to talk to you, what's the best platform for us to connect?
Social media advertising.
Yeah. Like ads that interrupt are kind of like annoying. Like but like ads like on the side or like on like Instagram, some like sponsored ads come up of like pictures of like food, restaurants, whatever. That's probably the best way for me personally.
I find Instagram's ads really effective. You're scrolling and you're actually taking the time to look at them. Even I found some businesses doing Snapchat filters.
Mhm.
You ever thought about that? Those are really effective. You swipe and it would like say a business or whatever, and you send it to your friend and it would have the filter on it. And I know for sure that like a lot of people use those.
Yeah, and with Instagram too, because it's kind of in between everything. It's not, you know, blocking what you're trying to look at or what you're trying to do. And I know you said local. Personally, I don't know how everyone else feels about this, but I don't mind watching local ads. It's the bigger company ads that I kind of like, I don't want to watch this. But being local, I know how important supporting local is, so that kind of thing I'm more willing to watch.
The the Instagram ads are also based kind of off of what you look at most of the time and like what you like and everything. So like I know I found like the tiniest, cutest jewelry store downtown off of an Instagram ad that I never would have found otherwise. And like they're not big like companies, and there's not, I don't really get like restaurants.
Yeah,
and
the
stuff like that.
Kelowna-based ones that they put on Instagram of little boutiques and stuff that come in your ads, I actually would go to them, I look at their page, and I see what products they've posted, what kind of things they have to offer. And if I like it, I'll spend my time and I'll go down to the store and check it out.
So everybody in this room pays a lot of money for something called the CBC. And I just wanted to find out a couple of things. One is if you know much about what CBC does, and if so, how do you use what CBC produces?
Like the radio, CBC?
CBC radio?
Radio, television, like content from CBC.
So like CBC is like public broadcast, right? That's about as much as I know. Sometimes I like to listen to CBC because they do like poetry or like local literature stuff in the evenings. I don't actually know when they do it, but every once in a while I'll turn on and I'll find it and it's sweet. But I'm very like, I find CBC will do more like of the arts and the local initiatives, and I like that about it. Sometimes they play pretty good like Canadian rock in the evenings. I find in the morning I don't really listen to CBC because it's mostly news, but in the evening I might.
Yeah, CBC, I listen to it when I'm I camp for a week in the summertime with my whole family, and we listen to CBC because it's the only thing that gets any type of sound where we camp. So we listen to CBC pretty much all day, every day, and it is actually really interesting. There's so many stories, like you guys have Stuart McLean on Sundays, and there's different, it's just kind of different. They have obviously the hourly news that comes on, but it's in between it's very interesting stuff.
Jeff?
If local radio had an ad-free subscription service, $5, $10 a month, no ads, would that change your consumption pattern?
No.
I don't think so.
No, because we can, right now, I think we get it, like I pay $4.99 for Apple Music because I'm a student, and I can choose what I want to listen to. The difference with radio is you don't get to choose, and that for me is, I like having the control and being able to choose what I want to listen to.
Apple Music does have like some radio stations, they're not local, but you can also listen to them within your, what's the word?
Subscription.
Subscription, yeah. I was thinking prescription.
I personally would do that if it was like a $5 per month type subscription. If the value there was like finding new music and having people who led segments that I could kind of relate to and were interesting, for sure would consider it.
I would also consider it too.
What would you consider, what kind of content would it have to be to get you to pay?
I don't know. I do like listening to the radio. It is just usually the ads that I don't like listening to. So in that sense, like it would possibly pique my interest.
So even radio as it is now without the ads would be something you pay for?
I don't mind the radio.
Right, yeah, okay, great.
So pick that off the earlier question about video ads, if you're
you're listening to a product being sold to you, like, what kind of ad would appeal to you without pictures?
Well,
Whether it's certain Spotify or whatever, like, is there some way that you would be interested in any ad?
yeah, oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say humor goes a long way. Like, there's a podcast called Pod Save America, which is American politics. They have ads, of course, as most podcasts do. And even though you can skip through podcasts, I often find myself listening to it sometimes because they just riff off the pre-script that they're supposed to be saying, and adds like a lot of good comedy there. So like, humor goes a long way for me.
Does it help that the hosts are actually bringing the live or simulating live?
Yes, I think they record it. They record it separately from their actual show.
Better than some other non-hosts.
Yeah.
They host a podcast and they read the ads.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that probably would help actually.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
On my podcast that I listen to every day too, they read ads kind of through the whole podcast. It's 4 hours. There's about 4 ad reads, and they're reading it, and I definitely think that it makes me not want to skip it as much.
Shut back.
Thank you. Just an observation. I'm old enough to collect both pensions now. I grew up in the 60s, and if I were sitting there in the 60s and sharing my life's experience at that age to my parents and grandparents, they probably would have the same reaction as what we're having when you're sharing to us. This is nothing new. And I was married in 1972, have been happily for 45 years now. And when I did get married, my life changed. My focus, my interest, everything else changed. It wasn't me, it was my family, my wife, and everything around me. My career, I had to work hard to get to where I was. And from there, I got involved in community and volunteerism and helping out with different causes. And that's something that all of the different media that you're talking about cannot do, where radio or television just shines, because we're in there helping. And you've mentioned you've used that to come to events, and you've used it to tell people, the masses of media around. So, again, there's a season for everything, and enjoy what you're doing right now, because it'll change.
That's a great point, and a question sort of to throw back at the group, because again, we did edit down the video a little bit, so some of these things we touched on in the longer discussion. But a lot of you are involved with community efforts and things, and what do you use to sort of make that happen?
Yeah, I've thrown a number of charitable events around Kelowna through the university, so through student associations I was involved with, and oftentimes we'd have people reach out to local stations saying, hey, if you can bring down, the station truck or a tent out here and tell some people that we're doing a drive-through breakfast at this one location, that would be a great help. And that's been really helpful, for sure. I can't say exactly how many people would come out from that because we didn't do like exit surveys. That would maybe be good. But yeah, it's been helpful, for sure.
But does social media play a role, though, when you're trying to organize events and trying to get people out?
Yeah, definitely. I've done through school as well, to getting my business degree. We've thrown events through Okanagan College, fundraisers for women's shelters, that kind of stuff. And social media is one of the main ways that we communicate, like through our Facebook page, Twitter page, Instagram. It's how a lot of how we market what we're trying to do. And also, I don't know if this kind of is what we're talking about, but through community, talking about how social media doesn't have like the community outreach that radio does. I still find I watch streams, I watch different YouTube videos that some channels donate all of their AdSense to different charities. Some types of streams you can donate to them during special events, and they will donate their entire I just watched one that donated it was like $250,000 to the Children's Hospital. So I don't think it does nothing, but.
Jasmine.
20 years ago in Vancouver, Birkenstocks were huge. How did this happen for you guys again? Because they completely went out of style, and now they're a thing for your age group. What was the influencer for you? How did they reach you because they were not cool?
I don't know, like, just like a lot of people all of a sudden just started wearing them again.
And then I bought a pair, and you see some like nice posts of people wearing them on like Instagram. And you're like, oh, those are nice. I want some. No,
not that I can remember.
I don't really get like you get some style influence from celebrities, of course, but mostly celebrities are like endorsing their outfits or they're way too expensive for you to get. I personally don't get style from celebrities. I think their style is mostly like over the top.
If I find it way too extravagant, if I try
Yeah.
to dress like that at school, people would be like, what?
Steven.
What do you guys think the shelf life is of these platforms? Because you guys initially, Facebook's a little bit older, you love Snapchat, but now not Snapchat, now it's Instagram. So in your opinion, if maybe the hot thing now is Instagram, or Twitter's not, but is it a 3-year window, a 2-year window, a 5? What do you guys feel? Because you're saying, radio, you guys are feeling that radio's declining. Do you feel that each of these platforms also decline over time?
I think it depends on how successful the business is.
Also, like, it would depend on if there's something, there would have to be something new coming out that everyone would abandon, like Instagram, let's
That's
say.
better. Like I've had Instagram and Snapchat since I was in I've had Instagram since I was in grade 6 and Snapchat since I was in grade 7. I didn't use them as much, of course, when I was younger. But as time went on, it's just gotten bigger and it's still getting bigger. So
yeah, and I think with these things, if they do decline, it's because something new has come out.
Yeah. Like, I feel like the abandonment of Facebook happened because Instagram potentially took its place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing too is like the power of integrating the different services is also like I found really speaks to like how long they will last. So Instagram is owned by Facebook, which obviously will have a great number of integrations between the two. Spotify is doing a really good job integrating with Instagram, whereas Snapchat didn't get on the music bandwagon as early, and they will probably suffer from that. So the integrations continue, then people will continue to use them. But if Snapchat survives just in its own silo, it won't like survive forever, in my opinion. And I know Max would probably say that with more emotion. So if he was here.
If you have access to a PVR, what's on it?
Whatever my parents
my
recorded.
Yeah, my parents stuff.
So you guys don't PVR, you don't save up shows, that sort of thing?
Most of the time, we can find whatever we want to watch on online, and a lot of the shows like that I watch, they come out weekly on Netflix, and also if I am watching with my cable at my parents' house, they have, so you can actually go back and watch it without recording it, and so usually if I do want to watch something, then I can just go back and search it up and it's there. I don't have to record it.
if it's like an older show or something that I want to see and I know it's not on Netflix or on one of the services I don't watch, I'll record it for sure.
Like movies and whatnot, I'll record, but
And
not
same
TV
with
shows.
like sports games too.
Yeah.
Any
Do you watch any live? Like, do you ever actually sit down and say, hey, I'm gonna watch this?
Only sports.
Yeah.
Sports.
For sure.
Julie?
I was gonna ask the question around sports, if you're watching live sports and or listening to live sports.
Yeah, I watch and listen. I love football and soccer, Formula One. I generally record that because it's on at like 3 a.m. But football, every Sunday I watch with my friends, my dad. And yeah, I think sports would probably be one of the only ones that I watch live.
Yeah.
Football and basketball I'll watch live. I would never listen to it live.
Sometimes I watch like music events, like the Grammys live, like big events that you can stream them online, but I'd rather watch it on a TV.
Yeah. What if you don't have a television? So what if you're driving and the football game or the basketball game?
I've listened to radio sport, like just sports live. When it's like something big, like I missed the first half of the Super Bowl and I was listening to that in the car, but only if it's a big thing.
I'd probably just check like an ESPN app, honestly. I'd rather not listen to it at all.
I know my dad will put the radio on to listen to the Rockets games quite a bit. I don't even know how to do that, so.
Cool.
Sorry.
You guys said. You guys said you're aware of privacy and it's a concern, but at the same time you said, like if an ad came up on your Instagram that was targeted to you, so something that you had searched for previously. So for that to happen, Google has to be tracking what you're searching for. Is that a concern? And so secondarily, if you take it to the next technology and you have your Google Home speaker or your Amazon Echo, would it concern you to know that that's listening to you all the time, even when you don't say, hey Google?
Yeah.
And so you might be talking in the kitchen and all of a sudden on your social stream you'll see an ad served to you because the Google Home picked up that you were talking about a certain type of clothing or cars.
That would freak me out.
That
It would also be kind of cool.
It would also be convenient at the same time, as freaky as it is.
Yeah, if it just went to a computer and it was an algorithm that just shot some ads my way, that'd be one thing. But if it's going to actual people and it's information that gets spread around, I'd be a little more uncomfortable.
I think though, that's what the future it is that kind of home algorithm. They're basically listening to you all the time. It's just, I personally think it's concerning, but it's what's going to happen.
So there's pros and cons. What does the pros outweigh the cons? That it's helping make your life easier,
yeah,
or that it's freaking you out or creeping you out?
I don't think it for me, I think I've accepted it as much. My parents really freak out about it. The other day they came to me and said, I was looking at something on my phone, and then the next, the afternoon, they had an ad for the exact thing I was looking for. And, I don't think, I think I've kind of just accepted it, so it doesn't freak me out as much, but.
I would get rid of my Google Home if that happened.
Yeah, I'd get chucked in the pool really quickly.
Okay. I'm sorry. You haven't asked a question yet. We're just about wrapping up here. We have a couple minutes. No. I'm sorry. The fellow behind you. That is
At the beginning of your session yesterday, you guys described your morning and how you got your day started. And it was during that time you didn't really mention anything about radio, but as we've listened to you guys today, radio is definitely getting in because you've been able to name some stations, you've been able to name some personalities. So when is radio getting into your life each day?
When you're driving to work or school.
Yeah, when I'm too lazy to plug my phone in, or I don't have my adapter to my aux cord.
Yeah.
Or I'm driving my mom's car instead of mine, and she doesn't have an adapter. I listen to the radio.
Yeah.
Piggyback off that, if you were to purchase a new car, how important would it be to have an AM FM radio in that car?
I wouldn't buy the car if it didn't have
Yeah.
probably an aux cord, honestly. I could care less about a radio in there.
Well, for instance, my brother, who's 20, he bought a car, didn't have an aux cord thing, so him and his friend who works in automotive or something, they changed up the car system so he could plug his phone in. So I definitely think that was a priority for him, and I think that would be a priority for me if I couldn't listen to the music that I downloaded in the car that I pay money for every month, that I would need to update the system.
I think I'd still want radio for those times, I say, that I'm too, I don't want to be driving in silence. So if I can't, for some reason, I don't have my phone, or, there's some reason that I can't listen to my streamed music, then I would want to have radio for that time, those kind of times. So I would still want it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to thank everybody very much for your questions. And certainly thank our Generation Z from Kelowna here, and just give yourselves all a big round of applause. Great conversation, and I think that you've really helped to, if I'm not wrong, sort of open up the door into the next generation, some of the next challenges that radio is facing, and will help set the table for our next session, which is talking to the industry leaders about some of the challenges that radio as an industry is facing and how we can collectively kind of help to solve those problems. Thanks very much.